Welcome to the Hopathanga podcast, where we discuss what to know about payday loans, cash advances, car title loans, and managing debt. I am Alyssa Atkins, the Training and Development Coordinator for the Native Learning Center. Today on the show, we are excited to have Lisa Rotharb, attorney in the Division of Financial Practices. She is going to share her expertise about payday loans, cash advances, car title loans, and managing debt. Lisa, would you like to formally introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much. It's very nice to be here. Good afternoon. As you said, I'm Lisa Rothbarb, and I'm an attorney at the Federal Trade Commission.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We truly appreciate it. I know the FTC does a lot, but is there any way that you could summarize for us or give us a little rundown of what the FTC does and what you do for the FTC?
Sure. So the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, is the nation's consumer protection agency. We work to stop fraud, deception, and unfair business practices, and we do this in several different ways. Through enforcement, we do investigations. We sue companies and people that break the law, and we try to get money back to people whenever we can. Many of the cases that we bring are based on the reports we get from people like those listening to this podcast, who tell us about the scams and dishonest practices that they see. We also engage in education and outreach. We tell people about their rights and businesses about their responsibilities. As we noted, I'm an attorney in our Division of Financial Practices, and I work on investigations and lawsuits against companies that violate the law and how they offer or sell financial products and services. This includes, for example, if a lender lies about the terms of a loan, a car dealer advertises a price for a car that's not actually available, or companies promise to help consumers with their debts or improve their credit score, but don't perform.
Perfect. Thank you. And when you're talking about the FTC does record it, you're talking about the database, correct? Where you can look it up by zip code and you can see what calls are being frauded in that area, or what
Yes, that's
scam
right.
calls.
Sorry about that. Yes, that's right. That's our Consumer Sentinel database. And it really benefits from consumers, from listeners like you who report when you have an issue with a company, especially if it seems like something that might violate the law. And that allows us and other law enforcement agencies to keep track of bad business practices and potential law violations.
That's wonderful. That's great that you guys have a very recognizable system and easy to use. I will say, I myself have used it. It is very user friendly. My second question is, what are payday loans and cash advances loans? How do they work and how much do they cost?
Sure. A payday loan or a cash advance loan is a loan for a short period of time. You pay a fee to borrow the money, and it may only be a loan term for a week or two that you just need a little bit of money to tide you over to your next payday. However, a payday loan or cash advance loan can end up being very expensive. For example, with a payday loan, you might incur a fee every 2 weeks. Perhaps it's a $75 fee on a $500 loan. If you can't afford to pay back the full amount after 2 weeks, which would be $575, then you pay the fee again. We refer to that as the loan rolling over, and this can keep going. A consumer can end up owing hundreds or thousands of dollars beyond the initial loan amount, and so it can end up being very expensive.
That sounds very costly and like it can add up very quickly. What are other ways to borrow money?
Sure. So, other ways that you might consider borrowing money if you need to do so. If you're able to borrow from a family or friend, that might be an option. Or from a bank or credit union, that can be less costly. You can also try asking for more time to pay your bills. If you talk directly to your lenders and explain the situation, they may be able to give you an extension.
Okay, perfect. I did not know that. What is your best advice for people who are in debt? What can they do to manage their debt?
Sure. Well, we provide some tips and resources on our website at consumer.gov. And these provide some ideas for managing and getting out of debt. Some things that can help are making a budget. If you look at where your money's going, maybe there are ways that you can save. We also have resources at consumer.gov to help you do that, including a free budget sheet, which you can download. You can also call companies where you owe money. As I mentioned a little bit before, explain the situation, why you're having trouble paying the bill, and sometimes they're able to give you a plan where you pay less per month. You can also seek help from a credit counselor who can help you develop a plan to manage your debt. Our website gives advice on how to look for a good credit counselor. You might have to pay some money for the help, but you should not have to pay in advance. It's also important to keep in mind that debt can impact your credit history and your credit score. Your credit history describes how you use money. For instance, how many credit cards you have, how many loans you have, and whether you pay your bills on time are things that go into your credit history. Credit reporting companies collect this information and they calculate your credit score. It's important to manage and pay off your debt, not only because it's not ideal to be in debt and it gets costly, but it also can impact your credit history. Large debts and late payments on loans or credit cards will show up on your credit report. And so our website also contains information about how to check your credit report for free. And if there's a mistake on your credit report, how to request that it be fixed.
Oh, well, that is very helpful. So this is something that you run into on a day-to-day basis.
We see all sorts of, I mean, absolutely, of course, people can fall on hard times and end up in debt. And I think that these tips, this information on our website, which is really easy to read and follow, if I can put in a shameless plug there, can be really helpful for thinking about your choices in dealing with that debt. Also trying to help consumers. We want to help consumers be aware of potential scammers, potential bad businesses that might take advantage of people who are in debt. And so I can talk a little bit about that as well. So we've brought cases against payday lenders who violate the law. We were talking a little bit about payday lending. It can be expensive. And in some instances, companies might even violate the law in their practices. For instance, in our Harvest Moon case, we sued a payday lender that told consumers they would be finished paying off their loan after certain payments were made, but then they continued to charge additional fees and withdraw money from consumers' bank accounts without authorization to do so. And so, a company like this with practices that violate the law can take advantage of consumers seeking such assistance. And similarly, we see debt relief scams that advertise to consumers who are struggling with debt. This includes credit card debt, student loan debt, and mortgage debt. And we see credit repair companies, which promise to help improve consumers' credit scores, but often take an illegal advance fee or overpromise how much they can help. And so we recommend that people be wary of these kinds of companies. If companies are offering to help settle your debt or repair your credit, they're not allowed to charge you an upfront fee for those services. And so if they do, that's, in other words, a fee that they charge before they actually help you. That's a red flag that something's wrong. We've brought many cases against these kinds of companies, debt relief, mortgage relief, and credit repair companies, where the companies have done this, charged illegal upfront fees, and failed to deliver the promised relief to consumers. And then just one more thing I'd note is, consumers who are in debt may also hear from debt collectors. And so it's important to know that debt collectors are required to follow certain laws. They can call you about your debt, but if you ask them not to call you and they keep calling, or they threaten or harass you, they might be violating the law.
That is very helpful to know. Are there any other red flags that you can kind of within maybe 5 minutes you just know something's not right, or any get like signs to know?
Um, sure. So some of the other red flags might be a little more specific to the kind of company. But for example, in the credit repair area, um, credit repair companies, well, we've seen them sometimes promise that they will remove all bad marks on your credit report, any negative credit history. They can't actually do that if the information is accurate and timely. So the law says how long information gets to stay on your credit report. It's often 7 years, depending on the situation. So if a credit repair company is promising to just get rid of anything negative from your credit history, that's not something that they can fulfill. And then with the debt relief, the debt settlement companies, mortgage relief companies promising to help you with this debt. I think a red flag there might be if they're promising to erase your debts or reduce them by 50% or more. That's not too likely. So, I think those kinds of outlandish promises are something I'd be wary of.
Thank you for that. It's always great to hear how you can spot scams because I do know that they prey on individuals and it's very unfortunate. But it's great to know that the FTC is there and has solutions for incidents like this. With my next question, there are scammers trying to take advantage of people in debt. What are some of the problems the FTC sees in this area? I know you kind of just went over a little bit of them taking advantage, but is there anything else that you would like to add?
Covered a good variety of the ways that companies might take advantage of consumers in debt, promising to help them get out of that debt in ways that may not be possible or legal. Of course, the credit repair aspect and debt collection. I'll go back to the lending and just say, another type of loan that we didn't get to yet. That can be concerning. It can be very expensive and risky for consumers. Is a car title loan, and that's something to be careful about. So a car title loan, it's similar to a payday loan in that it's a short term, but it's a little bit different because a consumer can get a loan for a small amount of money and a short time period, but it requires that you give the lender the title to your vehicle. This is particularly dangerous because if you give the lender the title to your vehicle, your car, your truck, your motorcycle, and then you're not able to pay off the loan, they can end up keeping your vehicle. And so that's particularly risky. And
Wow.
I can give you, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, wow. Like, it's very useful information to know.
Absolutely. And so, an example of that might be, let's say that you borrow $1,000 for a 30-day period, and you do pay a fee on that as well. So you pay, let's say it's a 25% fee for $250. So that's $1,250 that you would need to pay back after the 30 days. Well, if the 30 days comes and goes and you're not able to pay it back, maybe the lender will give you another 30 days for another fee. But then if that 30 days ends, you owe $1,500. And if you can't pay it back, there's a really good chance the lender's going to keep your car or repossess your car at that point. So you've lost your money and your car. And so that can be particularly dangerous.
Dangerous and frustrating, it seems like. So in an instance like that, they're able to call the FTC or go on the website and report, or how would they take that step if this does happen to someone?
Well, I just want to make sure I'm clear here. So there are a couple different things going on. Payday loans and car title loans. Some of these types of companies, what they're doing is expensive, but it doesn't necessarily violate federal law. state laws are different as far as whether payday loans are allowed and whether there are maximum interest rates. So I just want to make sure I don't give the impression that we can necessarily stop all lenders in this area. That's not the case. If these companies violate federal law, if they violate the Federal Trade Commission Act or other consumer protection laws, then we certainly want to be aware of it. You can file a complaint about any bad experience that you have with us, and we will look to see if there's been a violation of federal law. But I just wanted to make sure I explained the difference there. But absolutely, we really encourage people to file complaints if they have any issues, and particularly if they're concerned about bad business practices or potential law violation. And they can do so on our website. The link to it is at ftc.gov, but more specifically, it's reportfraud.ftc.gov. And I would also, just as a reminder, add that our consumer.gov website has a lot of great education materials.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. I know all of it can be confusing, so it's very helpful that you're here to break everything down for us. Is there anything else you would like to add to that, or anything else you would like to mention?
No, I think that's it. Sorry about that. I got a little ahead of myself.
No, it's okay. I appreciate it. I wanted to know the answer.
Please, I hope you'll peruse our education materials and find them helpful. And we also appreciate you sharing your experiences with us.
Are there any other helpful tips? Anything that they should look into other than state laws? I know you mentioned that was something to make sure that you know what your state laws are. So if you are being violated, or if a company is doing something they shouldn't be illegally, that way they can report it. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that? Any other knowledge that people should be looking into?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think one thing that's helpful to know is that the Consumer Sentinel database is something we share with lots of law enforcement partners. State attorneys general can get information from there as well, and we often get complaints that are filed from the state's attorneys general. So it's an opportunity for us to learn about what's going on, but also to share information. But certainly, if you have a concern that you're filing with us, you can also reach out to your state attorney general, and they are looking into enforcing consumer protection laws as well, and they will know about the state specific laws, which can include interest rate caps or prohibition on certain kinds of lending. It's hard in a podcast to talk about, to summarize the federal law and 50 different state laws. So I didn't want to try to do that, but you're absolutely right that it's something to be mindful of, and that folks might be interested in learning more about the law in their specific state.
Because it does play a big part for you, because at that point, if a company does something illegally, then you are able to prosecute, correct? If it is brought to your attention.
If a company violates federal law, then that's an area where we have jurisdiction. Yeah. And it's in some companies, certainly conduct can violate both. What a company is doing might violate both federal and state law, and in some instances, we partner with states as well to bring cases, and they can be a great partner in our work as well.
Wow, that's great. That's good to know that you partner up with the state, so that way we can solve the issue. Are there any other examples of times where someone has violated the federal and state, or either or, that you have run across?
I mean, certainly, if anything, it's too numerous to think of. I know in the debt collection area, we brought a number of cases with the state of New York as a partner, the New York Attorney General Office. And so, in a situation, particularly if a company is located in a particular state, and it comes to the state AG's attention, but they're also having an effect on consumers across the country, that can be a good candidate for us to partner with the state.
Perfect. It looks like those are all my questions. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much again for being here today. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you to Lisa Rothar for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, thanks for listening to Hope a Thing, a podcast. If you enjoy our show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Also visit our website, nativelearningcenter.com, to find information on upcoming webinar and virtual trainings. Be sure to come back for more content. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.